So we're talking about rape and consensual non-consent. Okay, disclaimer, there we go. So when we look at the topic objectively, we can see there is some very interesting data around this topic because it shows that both men and women, old and young, enjoy the rape fantasy. Now, we're talking about the fantasy of being and losing your control, being raped and losing your control, rather than being the one doing the raping, just, for reference. And this affects everybody. Now, what the data says is there's around 30 to 60% of women in this one study that fantasized over the rape fantasy. And this is fascinating because it shows us, especially looking at the other data with older and younger people and men and women, that it's not just a certain group of people. This is a very human, natural part of our own psyche. And so when you start to look at this, you question, well, why? Because the first layer to it is related to desirability and feeling wanted. So that's the first layer. But then you go even further and you say, well, why do we want this? Well, often it's because of a wound. Sometimes it could be, for example, an abandonment wound. So someone who has been abandoned in their early life, and this fantasy soothes the wound. It gives them the feeling that they're needed and wanted and desired. Even though this is quite sadistic, it's just how our mind works. And there is some fascinating biology about this because the pain and pleasure pathway, and sometimes things that we see as threats or some things that we see as disgusting, can sometimes arouse us, which is incredible, really, when you think about it. So if you meet someone and someone is in this position where they could be a threat, then it can also be quite arousing in certain situations. So there is biological components at play as well. But to understand the psychology of it, it's often a wound that you try to heal, or you feel a sense of relief while playing out the role play. Then there is the control. So this is another very common wound. And if someone has a lot of control in their life, maybe a lot of power or a lot of responsibilities, then they desire, often subconsciously, to let go of that control, to be free. Some people like to be submissive. Some people like the fantasy of being raped. So there is that psychological aspect to it. But there are many root causes, and it will differ from person to person. And this gets me onto a much more serious and darker side to it. And this is two camps of people. And like I said with the data earlier, the problem with data, especially about these topics, is that it's very limiting. And this is why I find it hard to share a lot of data, because I know there's so many things that I wish to share about, so many topics, but I often find it difficult because I don't have the data to back it up. But I know it's true. I've seen it happen so many times. I've researched it heavily, but there's just not the data. And it frustrates me because I think there's so many gaps in our knowledge. But maybe I will share it with you. Let me know if you want me to share it, and I'll share it nonetheless. But essentially, there's two camps. There's those who enjoy the fantasy, just the fantasy. And then there's those who have been abused and actually may have been raped in their early life or in their younger days, or some kind of other abuse, and they're using the fantasy to try and take control and heal themselves. And I'll explain what I mean by that, because that may seem a bit abstract. So let's start with the first one. So the first one is those people who enjoy the fantasy of it. Now, for reference, like I said, there's not data, but I do have some personal experience in this. I have been single for, some time, and I do date. And when I get, serious, sometimes we get to a point where we talk about these things. Of course, everybody does, right? When you're with a partner, you talk about these things. And I have met a few women over the years who have fell into either one of these camps or the other. And the one who desires just a fantasy, they will often say something like, "Oh, just fuck me like you hate me," something like that. Some real kinky stuff, but it's just that. It's sort of okay. I understand it. It's extreme, but it's whatever, right? That's how you will see it. But then the other side is those people who have been abused. And what happens in this situation most often is two things. One, they will replay the situation again and again. And the reason they're trying to do that is because their psyche is trying to heal, often from trauma. And the mind goes round again and again and again to try and heal itself. But also, as well, the desire for control. Because if they have been abused, one of the things they want deeply is to regain the control that they lost. But I found that in this latter category, they are much more, how can I word it? They are people who the desire of the fantasy is taken up several levels. So it's not only do it like you hate me, but it's also punch me, slap me, spit on me. And sometimes it can even get into the fantasy of other people. So it's like a fantasizing of other people being abused. And this is some real deep stuff. And of course, we know, consciously and, without, forgetting the whole sexual side, we know this is a crime and very disturbing and a very evil act. We understand this as sane, normal human beings. But I'm not suggesting for a moment that this is okay, because this is someone who is obviously dealing with trauma. But I have to look at it subconsciously and take my own feelings and things out of it, because you understand that this is someone who's hurt and is in pain. And often if you're in pain, you can do all kinds of unusual stuff. So seeing it psychologically, even though it may seem very disturbing to some people, I have to say that I do understand why they think like this, especially some of the stories they've told me about, when they were younger and when they were early adults and their past boyfriends. And you understand why they desire this. This is the whole point of me talking to you, is because I want to get this across to you that why you like what you like or why you fantasize is often related to your own psychology. You wasn't born with this. It's often something related to psychology. Either you don't feel enough, you love being desired and wanted, or there is something deeper, perhaps some past trauma. And even though some people may, I don't know how these kinds of videos are, portrayed to people. So I hope it doesn't come across that I'm, I don't know what you would, trying to rage bait or trying to say something that gets people offended, or I don't know how it comes across to people. But I believe that if we are honest with ourselves and look at our own psychology, then we can stop a lot of pain and suffering in our own life, and also, more importantly, to other people. Because if you think about this fantasy, you think about how many people take it further, you think about how many crimes are committed, and it happens a lot. And would it happen if they found out that this was related to their own deeper psychology? If they were, I wouldn't want to use the word cured, but if they were helped, if they were supported, that may never even get to that stage. If we can heal and stop whatever you want to call it before it even gets any further, then not only can we help that individual, then we can help the whole community. Anyway, these are my ideas. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you soon.